The most often used tactics of the evil one is to sow seeds of doubt about God's goodness and his reliability. So certain times in the life of a disciple, many might experience things that cause him or her to go, I'm not sure if this whole following Jesus thing is right. And if that happens to you, first of all, just know it's okay. I mean, it happens to the best of saints. So this doubt is precisely what Mother Teresa struggled with for a good portion of her life, even while she was a saintly nun helping the poor. Now, sometimes, for whatever reason, God allows us to experience these prolonged periods of doubt and struggle. But having said that, try this method of prayer if you're ever feeling down or doubtful about either Christ or his church. Try flipping through the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 53, specifically the prophet Isaiah, and just read it. Okay, so, we tend to forget the fact that this book, Isaiah, contains predictions about Christ that are so accurate that this book has often been dubbed the fifth gospel. It was written 500 years before Christ. But if you read the words of the prophet Isaiah without knowing the book that you're reading, you would think that you're reading something written by a close friend of Jesus, when, as I said, it was written 500 years before him. And it shows that Jesus is pretty legit. He's the real deal. It's one thing to perform awesome miracles, which Jesus did, and that no doubt impressed a lot of people. But to have your miracles, to have your identity, to have your family tree, all of these predicted 500 years before you entered history, that's special. And that's something which Isaiah did. He prophesied these things. And this is what wowed Jesus' apostles. It was one thing for Jesus to make a blind person see and a deaf person hear, and that probably impressed the apostles. But what really impressed them, what really wowed them, was that it was a fulfillment of a 500-year-old prediction. So that's pretty special. And what's even more special about this is the sheer amount of predictions and prophecies Jesus fulfilled. It said that there's 350 Old Testament prophecies that Jesus, this one person Jesus, fulfills. That's knocking it out of the park. That's something special. And what's super encouraging about this is that even in the worst times of Jesus' life, he was fulfilling scripture. He was fulfilling prophecy. So you would think that being tortured and left to die a slow and painful death, you would think these are like wrenches in the plan. You'd think they'd be indications that something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Not for Jesus. Even though his death was a catastrophic event in the eyes of his apostles, Jesus was still fulfilling prophecy. So that's something encouraging for us to think about today. There's a lot that's happening in our world today that is causing good Christians to doubt their faith either in God or his church. But let today's readings about Christ fulfilling prophecy remind you that nothing, absolutely nothing, is outside of God's control. And there's absolutely no reason to doubt the legitimacy of Christ or his church.